You're listening to the Empowered Divorce Podcast, where you practice being the chooser in your life again, one day at a time. Thanks for joining me. Hello, my amazing, beautiful listeners. How are you today? Thank you for being with me. Take a moment to be with you. Take a moment to breathe and to notice your breath. Feel the breath filling your belly. Notice your chest rise and your ribs expand. Holding that breath for a couple seconds and then exhaling. I hope that you continue to keep breathing and noticing your breath throughout the rest of the day. Do this a couple times. Be with your breath and notice it in your body. The more we are watching it and paying attention to it, we can be more in the present moment. And as you're going through difficult, challenging times, it is so important to take as many moments as we can to pause, to slow down, and to connect with our body. Our body works so hard and sometimes in overtime when it is going through trauma, when it is worried about the future. And one of the things that we can worry about is being rejected. When there's so many things going on right now in your life, so many things to worry about, so many emotions to be felt. One of the emotions that a lot of us try really hard to avoid feeling is rejection. Rejection is so painful. And many of you have felt the deep pain of rejection due to your partner's betrayal. Whether this is bringing up an old wound because you have previously experienced this in childhood, rejection is not just an event, it is an emotional wound. Many of us have carried this wound for decades. Sometimes people think rejection is situational, like you didn't get the job, someone broke up with you, someone just ignored your text, you didn't get invited to the party or the dinner or the cousin's wedding. But for those of you who've experienced betrayal, abuse, and divorce, rejection isn't just a moment that happens. It is this echo over and over of that wound. It's been layered and layered and layered over time. Those of you who are scared to navigate a future relationship, this is one of the things that many of you will communicate to me as something you're afraid of happening again. Well, I don't want to be rejected again. I don't want to be betrayed. It triggers all of the fears of the old survival of not being wanted or not being enough, being too much, or feeling invisible, perhaps believing that you're only lovable if you're perfect, and if you're not, then you will be rejected. What's interesting is the body and the nervous system don't know the difference between today's rejection and decades old rejection. It's going to respond like it's happening all over again. Healing isn't about shaming those reactions. It really is about gently teaching your body a new story. If this did form when you were a child, perhaps you didn't feel chosen, you didn't feel seen, you didn't feel validated by your caregivers, or maybe in early adulthood, you had toxic friends, abusive relationships, betrayals, and now in your past relationship, there's this ongoing invalidation, betrayal, and a lot of emotional neglect. So each of these rejections pile and pile onto each other. And it's not because you're weak or doing something wrong, but because the original wound never got fully witnessed or healed. So each rejection piles onto the last. And now you might not even need somebody else to reject you, because now you are preemptively rejecting yourself just to avoid the pain of someone else doing it. This is going to show up as, I'm just going to stay small. I won't speak up. I don't need anything. Then nobody can hurt me. Rejection isn't just about being disliked or not invited to the party. It has at its root, rejection touches survival. So when humans evolved, being rejected by the tribe literally meant death. And so the nervous system still holds on to that old wiring that rejection equals danger, especially for betrayed women whose safety was shattered by someone who they loved and trusted. Rejection feels like this life threat, even if logically they know it isn't. I see the battle between the two often. Or even innocent interactions can feel like rejection because that nervous system is still on high alert. When your nervous system has been trained by abuse or betrayal, then it's going to interpret everyday life things as a threat. It's not trying to sabotage you. It's really trying to protect you in the best way that it that it knows how. Your central nervous system knows how. So healing isn't about shaming those reactions. It really is about gently teaching your body a new story. I know that when many of you talk about dating again, leaning back in, getting serious, the fear of rejection comes up pretty quick. And oftentimes the interpretation is what's wrong with me. I'm weak or even fragile. And I just want you to know that you're not afraid of rejection because you're fragile. You're afraid of it because you've already lived through the kind of rejection that absolutely broke your world apart. And betrayal trauma isn't just about cheating or lying, it's about feeling erased, replaced, and abandoned while you were still fighting for connection. So, this episode, I want to unpack what rejection really means for women who are healing after betrayal, trauma, abuse, and divorce, and how you can start walking forward, perhaps one day, in a new relationship with this fear gone, without this fear attached to you. And when a rejection is being experienced as an emotional pain, it's using the same neural pathways that it uses with physical pain. Yes, you heard me right. There was a study done in UCLA in their social cognitive neuroscience lab around this. And in part, what they found is that the part of our brain that lights up when we burn our hand on the stove is the same region that activates when you feel ignored, excluded, abandoned, or rejected. This pain is registering, for all of you brain nerds, in the anterior cingulate cortex and the insula, both of which play major roles in detecting pain and threats to safety. Doesn't it make sense now why those of you who hear me talk about dating, your brain, this part of your brain is going to light up and be like, not a chance. I am not burning my hand on the stove again. It means that because your ex cheated on you and chose someone else, when they minimized your pain and ignored your cries, when someone ghosts you or dismisses your vulnerability, your brain doesn't just register that as emotionally uncomfortable. It treats it like an actual wound, like you burned your hand on the stove, like you've been physically hurt. Then here's the kicker for those of us who've experienced betrayal trauma. Because you've already experienced chronic emotional and relational pain to someone that you were connected to, bonded to, in a relationship attached to, now your brain is going to become even more sensitive to perceived rejection, to even the slightest perceived rejection. Might not even actually be rejection. It's going to perceive just about everything it can as rejection because that neural pathway, it's already worn in. Like that analogy I've given you before, when you're hiking up a trail, it is a trail in your brain that has been hiked up and down, up and down. So even these small moments, like someone not texting back or someone not inviting you to lunch with everybody else, can feel like an absolute full blown threat. Because for your body, it's not just a text that didn't get responded to. It's a reminder of that time that love in your life, in your awareness, and your reality disappeared without a warning. And so it's going to flare up that nervous system, and your nervous system is going to say, danger, danger, danger. You're being abandoned and rejected again. Now, why does this matter? Because I know that some of you really deep down want a healthy relationship. You do want to connect, but your brain is firing off this threat, this warning, as if you get on a dating site, you're going to literally burn your hand on a stove because your body's trying really, really hard to protect you from what it already knows hurt like hell. This is why healing the fear of rejection isn't just a mindset work. It isn't just changing the way that you think about it. However, it will be helpful. And I will offer a couple of reframes, but this is also why affirmations don't always work because this is also body work, nervous system work. It's trauma informed healing. Rejection becomes not just a threat to connection, but to our identity, to our safety, and even to our worth. When you have felt like you were second best or not chosen first, when you were lied to or compared, objectified, then it makes any future possibility of rejection feel life threatening and very, very possible. Some of you might not even realize that these thoughts of rejection or fear of rejection are coming up So, some common thoughts that you might relate to or not even realize that you're thinking is, well, what if I'm never chosen again? What if I get on the dating apps or I put myself out there and no one chooses me? Goodness, do I remember thinking that? Because in addition to what if I'm never chosen again, I was thinking, why wasn't I enough for him to stop doing what he was doing? Why wasn't I enough for him to stop his addiction? If I do get close to somebody else, then they're probably going to realize that I'm just too much, too damaged, too broken, too triggered, too loud. So dating is going to sound absolutely terrifying because there's no way that I can survive being left again. I'd rather be alone than risk feeling the pain of that one more time. Then those of you that are afraid of being alone are going to go in a double spiral. But you're not weak for thinking these things. This is how your brain adapts and protects. I think there's also a lot of misconceptions around rejection. For example, I'll hear things like, well, if I was rejected, then it means that I wasn't good enough. When the truth is, rejection says more about the other person's capacity, whether it's their capacity for love, for healing, for their own love. It has nothing to do with your worth. Many of you think avoiding rejection is going to protect you from being hurt. This is just avoidance. And avoidance is often protecting old wounds, not actually your present self. And so in reality, this kind of thinking, if I just avoid, right, avoid dating, avoid all of it, you're just keeping love out. Then I also see those of you perfectionists thinking if you were perfect enough or try to be perfect enough or do it right, then you won't be rejected. A lot of that can be subconscious, but the truth is perfectionism is self-rejection. We're just wearing a mask because the truth is you are allowed to be fully human and still be chosen. Where I see most of us get stuck with rejection is that we are rejecting ourselves first. Self rejection can create a vicious loop. A lot of us will get stuck in it. When you silence your needs in order to avoid confrontation, that's self rejection. When you are dismissing your feelings because it's not that big of a deal, that's self rejection. When you are not going after your real desires, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a relationship, a new hobby, believing it won't work out, you don't have time, or you won't be good enough anyway. That's self rejection. When you accept breadcrumbs from somebody, just a little bit of love here and a little bit of love there, nice here, nice there, that's self rejection because you're believing it's better than nothing. When you try to out earn rejection by being the fixer or the problem solver or the caretaker or the easy one, the one that doesn't require much. I'm so easy to love because I'm not going to ask you for anything. That's self rejection. Rejection hurts most when it confirms something that we've already been telling ourselves. When we can really start to be aware of what those self rejection beliefs and phrases are that we're telling ourselves, healing those is going to break the loop of self rejection. Here's 5 things that you can do to rewire your relationship with rejection. I want to include some somatic things, some cognitive things, because we need a little bit of both. I remember having a coach of mine years ago offer this to me, and it has stuck with me ever since, and I love it. I use it mainly with friendships now in my life or other relationships that I had maybe hoped would have lasted or wouldn't have ended the way that they did. And instead of making it mean something about me or believing that I was too much or once again not enough, a reframe that I love is the relationship completed itself. Isn't that such a beautiful reframe? I've had many friendships along the way throughout the years, different states that I've lived in, different houses that I've lived in the same state, where just because of proximity or the kids' ages or groups or sports that I was involved in, I had close friends in each one of those different stages. And the expectation of every single one of those close friends along the way should be my best friend today is a little unrealistic. I could make some of those people that just kind of, once they found out I was divorcing and I did move, that just never reached out ever again. I can absolutely sit here and feel rejected and make it mean something that, see, I wasn't a good enough friend for them to reach out and call me and say, hey, how are you? I heard that you divorced. Anything I can do? I know you don't live here anymore, but I just want you to know I miss you. That would have been nice, right? And I can sit here and feel like, and run through my mind all the different ways that maybe I wasn't a good enough friend to deserve that kind of reaching out or respect. Or I can say, you know what, that relationship completed itself. It served its purpose in Little League or Taekwondo or in the neighborhood. Being able to tell myself that the relationship taught me something, it's done now and it's okay. We can ask for what we want from safe people in little small ways where we lean into safe vulnerability because perhaps dating is a little too big of a vulnerability. So we need to practice vulnerability in smaller ways. Maybe with someone safe, start to express your thought or opinion about something. Maybe state a boundary. I call these micro exposures where we're exposing ourselves, what we think, feel, want, need, and are vulnerable with that in small micro doses. Remember, part of your wise femininity is vulnerability, and that got thrown way out of whack. So we need to step back into vulnerability, but we can do it with these little micro exposures where we're still being stretched just enough to build nervous system tolerance to being seen, to being vulnerable, and to possibly even being rejected. So starting to ask for what you want, maybe telling a friend, hey, can we talk later? I really need to be heard right now. Or going to a restaurant and maybe making a request to sit outside when the hostess is walking you inside. Starting to express your opinions when you're in a group with other people, especially if your opinion is different. Saying things like, that's really interesting, but I actually see things a little bit differently. When you have a group of friends and they ask, where would you like to go out to eat? Or what movie do you prefer? How many of you just defer to somebody else? How about actually expressing your opinion of what you would prefer? Another micro expression of vulnerability is having boundaries, learning to say no, saying I need to reschedule. I'm just really running on empty right now. And then starting to lean into sharing your feelings, letting people know that they mean a lot to you, telling people that you feel kind of off today instead of answering the how are you today? Fine, good, fine, everything's fine. Maybe just saying, you know what, I'm feeling a little off today. Or, gosh, that hurt a little. Just try choosing one small thing a day that feels like a stretch, not a leap, not that deep, raw vulnerability, just enough for your body to learn that it is safe to be seen again. Again, you are rebuilding your nervous system tolerance to being seen. Another reframe or practice is daily self validation. Putting on your mirror, putting on sticky notes, things that say, I am 100% of worth and value, even if nobody sees it today. Rejection can never take away my enoughness because I am always enough. And then it's important to self-reflect. What part of you fears rejection the most? Is it your inner child? Is it the performer part? Is it a protector? Recognizing that part, validating it. Of course you're scared. Of course you don't want to get hurt again, but I've got you now. Letting that part of you know that it can rely on you to never reject it again. This is how you pull yourself out of self-rejection and getting a little bit stronger, more grounded and rooted so that if somebody in your life doesn't want to hang out with you or doesn't want a second date, we're not making it mean something about us intrinsically. We're not taking that deep dive and pulling out our worth and our value and our enoughness and chucking it into the street. You got to hold on to all parts of you, no matter what people outside of you think or say. Those of you who have anxious attachment, when you are afraid of rejection, this is going to show up as maybe over communicating, really trying to reassure someone else that you're not pulling away. So you're going to overshare maybe how much they mean to you or how much you love them or enjoy being with them. People pleasing, right? Again, it's you want to be chosen, you want to be kept. You're going to go to great lengths to please all the people. And if they don't respond in the way that you expect or think they should, or immediately like delayed text or even a vague response, You're going to feel absolutely devastated because underneath is going to be that fear of rejection. If you're avoiding attachment, then you might withhold vulnerability because you're trying to protect yourself. I'm going to preemptively make sure that I'm not going to get hurt by keeping you at a very safe distance. So you might be the one ghosting or emotionally shutting down before anybody gets too close because, again, I don't want to be hurt again, don't want to be rejected. This is where I see a lot of hyper independent people live, believing that I don't need anybody anyway. I can do it all on my own. That hyper independence is actually not secure attachment, it's a shield. Either way, fear of rejection is going to hijack connection because it makes everything about survival, not about authentically relating or connecting to somebody. When this kind of rejection becomes familiar, it makes sense why we show up differently in relationships too. The beautiful thing is that no matter how deeply these patterns are rooted or it's involved in attachment, they are not permanent because healing is going to start small. It's going to start in the everyday moments where you choose to stay with yourself instead of abandoning yourself. Asking yourself every day, where did I abandon my own feelings or my needs? No shame, just curiosity. If you find yourself saying, it's fine, I'm probably just being too sensitive, pause. Where might I be abandoning my emotions? Where might I be silencing my voice and not speaking up because I don't want to say the right thing or I don't want to be judged? Emotionally gaslighting yourself, feeling hurt or dismissed because you're telling yourself I shouldn't feel this way, making too big of a deal about nothing. You're emotionally gaslighting yourself. You've already lived through one of the deepest kinds of rejection when the person that you promised to love the most and they promised to love you and they didn't protect you. You've survived that. Now you get to build a relationship with yourself, not to never be rejected again. So hear me correctly, but so that if it happens, when it happens, it's no longer going to absolutely undo you. It's not going to mean anything about who you are. You can keep it external because you're not going to allow someone else's thoughts, opinions, or rejection of you become internal. This is the kind of work that we do in my Dating Within workshop. We heal the fears, we heal the patterns, we heal the nervous system, but most of all, the relationship that you have with you. Dating yourself again is what this is all about. Loving yourself again, healing yourself, and stop rejecting yourself first will allow you to lean into relationships with more ease, with more confidence, and with more authenticity. You don't have to hide parts of you or pretend to have certain parts of you that don't exist in order to get that connection in fear of being rejected. So if you're feeling pulled towards this journey of leaning back in, dating yourself, I would love to support you there. The next workshop is June 12th, 13th, and 14th. Yes, we will talk about rejection and so many more topics to help you lean back into a healthy relationship, to know what a healthy relationship even looks like. But first, to cultivate a healthy relationship with you because your relationship with you matters the most because it's you and you that get to create the life that you want because you can. Take care, everybody.